We're going to start off with the biggest one. It is a band called Babymetal, of course, and this is their album, The Other One, which I don't like as a title, because I feel like whenever you're talking about Babymetal albums, I'll be like, oh yeah, Metal Resistance, Metal Galaxy, the other one. But this is the fourth full-length album now from Babymetal, marking pretty much a full decade of activity from them, which is worth stopping to take note of and almost, tip your hat to, because when they first gained international attention, I don't think many people expected it to last this long.
They were a gimmick band. They were, it was a novelty. It's going to be popular for a bit. It's going to be a flash in the pan, and then people are going to grow out of it. That was, like I said, the chatter at the time.
And even if that, beyond that, there's also the concerns about, I guess, the natural shelf life of J-pop bands and,
and idol culture, yeah.
Yeah, and how singers can graduate out of bands when they reach a certain age, and all of these kind of things that were going around Babymetal. We did, of course, lose one of the three main members at one point, but Sue Metal and Moa Metal are still here. Anything that we say about, I guess, the trajectory of Babymetal or whatever, first off, has to be, with that acknowledgement that they have lasted much longer than many of their initial detractors gave them credit for, and that alone is a big achievement. Also, we are talking from an English-speaking and international viewpoint, because in Japan, they're just like the fucking biggest thing ever, right? Like, this is total blockbuster release over there. In the wider metal consciousness, though, and from our perspective, I think Metal Galaxy in 2019 was a bit of a settling for Babymetal, perhaps, because the first album obviously had the what the fuck is this factor, with Gimme Chocolate going viral and so on. And Metal Resistance, again, from our perspective, it was almost like a statement of intent that this was going to be sticking around, not just the initial cutesy virality factor. When you turn up with songs like Karate, you are demanding that people take you at least somewhat seriously. And that was overall one of my favourite records of that year for pure banger factor like that. Those songs absolutely rule. Babymetal are total established proposition now, but I have noticed that the furore seems to died around. I don't know whether that is just the natural, again, the shock to the system of when Babymetal turned up becomes more taken for granted. But leading into the other one, comfortably the quietest a Babymetal record has been, I think, in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Metal Galaxy still, was quite hyped up, but then pandemic and, the uncertainty of whether they were going to carry on when there was, the sort of they're going away for a while and all that. So I guess people kind of sort of moved on a bit. But I think there's still definitely a buzz around Babymetal, and I think people who care are still going to go, have this. It's just maybe not in the wider sphere. They're very much, they have their extremely dedicated core fan base who are going to lap this up, but it's not going to make as many waves outside of that.
Yeah, I think in that way they have become just more like a normal big heavy metal band, not this fucking mental, sensation, at least here, but, any other big band we're going to be talking about in this episode are bands who release records and primarily have a dedicated fan base of people loving them. Elliot, I do have to ask if, you mentioned earlier, which I suppose you can take bits and maybe not loads. Some people just never came round to this and refused to kind of accept it at all. What's your Babymetal experience been like?
I don't know. I've always thought they were a band that were capable of writing the odd, absolute banger, like Megitsuna, Karate.
Yeah.
Undeniable. But I never thought they were capable of putting together a truly great record. And it sounds like a lot of people really bought into Metal Resistance, and it sounds like you're one of them. And that was, I think, probably the most successful up to that point. And I think one of the reasons why Babymetal exploded off of that was because maybe on the first record there were a lot of people going, oh, this is kind of, the novelty thing. And then as soon as there's one or two great songs, people are like, whoa, hang on. Stick them in an arena. They can support the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Let's go. And at this point, it's this is about where I think Babymetal should be. And for me, I don't even know how to rate them, because at their best, I think they're excellent, but kind of a mixed bag.
No, I think that's a fair way of approaching them. Again, the debut record is kind of I think it literally was like a collection of singles and stuff that they've been putting out in Japan primarily over the previous couple of years. I think Metal Resistance just amped up that song power while making it a bit more sort of, gelled together, which is why that really stuck with people. And then Metal Galaxy, I think, it didn't have the, the actual breathtaking song power of like a Karate on it, which is just an all-timer, but there was a theme with it where it was this kind of Babymetal around the world Sonic tour thing, which I thought was a blast as a listening experience, right? That Elevator Girl tune, total jam. Going up. The song with Joaquin from Sabaton doing a fucking just Yeah, like it's literally just a Korpiklani tune, because pretending they're going to Finland. Hilarious. Shanty, shanty, shanty. Babymetal does Bollywood. Loads of fun. It's a deranged record, that, in terms of what it does. You know, there's hyperpop and everything, like carnival music. The other one has a bit of a different theme going on. It's Babymetal into the metalverse, essentially, if you read into, you know, the kind of content around it. They've gone with, you know, that, as many people have. But it's, you know, universe stuff like that. You don't really need to know, but that's why there's no Bangra metal or whatever on this one. What I wasn't quite geared for is how comparatively sort of normal and streamlined this would sound.
Yeah, it does just feel like Babymetal doing a lot of what is kind of the thing in sort of metal and hard rock and sort of radio rock and metal at the moment. It's just kind of settled into what are the current trends without making any massive sort of wild leaps into other trends. There are some songs that, you know, mix things up a little bit, but it does feel almost more focused.
I think you can hear that the girls the women even, you know, they're not kids anymore. Like, that is abundantly clear in their vocal performance, and I think that sort of less shrill, cutesy delivery takes away some of the, I don't know if you want to say gimmick factor, but it makes it less garish, which I think comes across as more sort of straight up poppy than it does sort of mental.
I think they've leaned into a certain, I guess, side of it, because it's, I mean, you're quite right to say women for a start, because like Sue Metal is just a year younger than me, you know, like in a weird way. We've grown up together. It's a strange kind of thing. And maybe, you know, when my mind went more for just, you know, like wacky, you know, this kind of shit, now it is a little bit more, you know, give me a product like this that, you know, gels together and so on. But the core sound of Babymetal here, it's you know the heavily electronics laced big industrial metal has always been the foundation. What they've done is, I think they've lent really hard into kind of the, you know, the sweeping epic storytelling side of Babymetal songwriting in a way, over the bubbly fun side. And what this means is that this is comfortably the most focused in one direction towards one type of song that a Babymetal album has ever been. You know, the mad vias of a Metal Galaxy or a Metal Resistance are reined in considerably. And thus, I think this is only really a record for you if you love that sound of, you know, massive, overblown anime battle kind of side of Babymetal, and you don't mind so much the fact that the Gimme Chocolates and the Elevator Girls and all of the actual what the fuck is going on kind of part is kind of missing.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of the things I do actually I like about this is I'm fine to go with, you know, that over the top dramatic kind of just like big. And like some of these songs could just be anime OPs, like they are.
I kept thinking about the fucking Demon Slayer music.
Yeah, that is where my mind kept going on so many things. It's so the sound of that thing at the moment. But there is, I agree. Like when you take the album, it opens with Metal Kingdom, which is a slow burn kind of like dramatic rock song, and it's got those, you know, it has got those US radio woes in there, but it's not, you know, high octane in the way Babymetal can be, but it does the lift on that chorus like really big. And again, Sue Metal have vocal melodies. She's just a really good vocalist at this point, I think.
Yeah, I think when their choruses go more like, you know, earnest and heartstring tugging over just kind of, you know, J-pop bounce, they are able to sell it for me, because Sue Metal is such a powerful singer. You know, I think she's always been top draw, but now she has like a decade plus of experience under her belt. It's just, you know, second nature to her. She's commanding as hell, and that big central part on Metal Kingdom is totally enough to get you, you know, stoked to plow into, you know, whatever epic journey kind of might be following. You know, she nails just about every kind of epic melody that they throw her way on this. You know, the big, you know, the Seasons Change and Believing is really big. The melodic hooks in Babymetal, I think the reason this album still works is they never shy away or kind of feel crushed or overwhelmed by anything else. Like, they're just really powerful bits of pop music. Like the big lift in Monochrome is like, yeah, okay, you guys are just really fucking good at this. Like, you know, Sue Metal is good at it. The arrangers are good at it with the backing vocals and everything. And they get that kind of that tingle on the back of your neck when those things take off.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart move. One of the things going into this is like, what can Babymetal do? Like, they're adults now. You know, people are used to the gimmick, if you want to call it that. What can they do without kind of seeming, you know, undignified or old hat, or like they're trying too hard? And I think going for a more straightforward approach is actually quite a flattering move in this case. So like Time Wave, even though it's got a bit of a Eurodance flavour, it's ostensibly a big pop song with that sort of, as we've come to know, industrial stomp guiding it. So I think like they've managed to still have the two worlds of J-pop and metal, but it sounds less gimmicky and less deliberately clashing than it had on the earlier stuff.
Yeah, I think in a way it almost you are right. I think what I'm saying about this album is it could be a bit of a trade-off in terms of what you're looking for from Babymetal, because there absolutely are arguments that by losing the most playful sides of their material, that it loses a lot of the fun factor that's been some of their calling cards up to this point. But it does, I guess, just kind of strip away, some of the nonsense, for lack of a better word, and just show how capable they are, both as the songwriters behind it, and then the vocal performances and everything, and it just shows how no nonsense, these are just good songs. Like Divine Attack puts that kind of big inspiring Sue metal chorus on essentially like a massive like pendulum drum and bass kind of part, and it goes off really hard. It sounds really big in your speakers. In a way, for me, like I never really bought into pendulum and stuff, in part because like this has so many layers of like heavy industrial guitars and stuff on top of that, and it sounds really rousing.
Well, I don't think it necessarily even needs to be like less silly. Also, I'm not sure if the trade-off is direct as that, because I don't think this album is necessarily less fun than some of the preceding stuff. It's just kind of more joyful maybe in a different way. Like Mirror Mirror, the leads in that are almost like Dance Gavin Dance, who are not a band I'm a huge fan of.
Polyphia is the kind of thing I go on that. Like
Polyphia is probably the more accurate.
For me, I was just thinking about the fact that we're doing this alongside a Periphery record, and I like that riff more than I like most of the Periphery record. It's hourly dazzling in that kind of way.
Well, this is it, and like Polyphia and Dance Gavin Dance, all those bands, I'm not a big fan of really of any of them, but there is something kind of shimmering and enjoyable just about the way their guitar riffs flutter. And by applying that to the Babymetal framework, it doesn't mean that the sort of euphoria-inducing element is any less. It's just a more sort of grown-up, less cartoonish approach. Or Light and Darkness has a kind of disco shuffle. And it's the sort of thing that, last year we were commending Ghost for writing arguably the best song of the year in Spillways, which has so much yacht rock all over it. It's not necessarily a stupider Ghost song or a more cartoony Ghost song. It's just got a more sophisticated approach to its songwriting, and I think that sort of thing is applied here. So even though I don't necessarily love this record, I think it's exactly the right record for Babymetal to make at this time, and I don't think too much is lost by it being a bit more mature, I guess.
I think because, again, the choruses, like I said, the backing band are really on point. That losing that trade-off of the sort of the more like kind of like wild twists and turns of the last record for something that is just more focused on writing these sort of songs, it doesn't feel like a trade-off to me, because the quality of the songs hasn't taken a hit. Like I say, Mirror Mirror's got that like Polyphia bit. It's got a really like good breakdown on it going as well. Like, and it just has all the elements that I'd still want from Babymetal, because all these songs have a chorus that just like pops off and makes me go like, yeah, that's a big. Again, like, do I know the words to the choruses yet? No, but they'll sing me on a couple more listens.
Well, I mean, stuff like Maya with like the backing vocals, the "Say My Name" kind of back and forth thing, that is really catchy. And the
Divine Attack has that "The Time Has Come" stand up bit.
Yeah, but like on Maya, that big like hulking modern metal groove is the thing with Babymetal since at least Karate is their riffs go toe to toe with just about anyone else in this kind of modern metal lane, like US metalcore bands that might be trying to be taken more seriously, whatever.
Yeah, I said they do better gent riffs than all the actual gent bands, don't they? Really, like
yeah, like Believing, when it crunches in, is fucking heavy, and it has those kind of melodic tech metal quirks in there again, and then it's got those Devin Townsend type trademark Babymetal space synths and stuff. There's invention there, because you've got the vocoder refrains going back and forth and stuff. The maddest moment that really makes you sit up in your seat on first listen is Metalism, which is the bit that seems to pick up on some of those like super garbled like electronic meets world music elements of bits of Metal Galaxy, but then blasts it through the fucking multiverse or whatever. Has like a turn down for what drop in it, except with shred.
Drop into the solo, like it's so good, I don't care.
So I feel like even though it has those like so the bits of this are obviously, if any other band did them, you'd be like, fucking hell, this is insane. Like, what the hell? It's just, it feels very much like it's committed to a kind of certain mood of, you know, gritting its teeth and going like, this is part of a dramatic quest, instead of going, fuck it, party time, which again, the last record literally had carnival songs on it. Even, you know, the sax that comes in at the end of the legend, at the end of the record, super grand and smooth, rather than Papa Neil come out and doing that solo in Miasma or whatever. I think it's interesting to have the songwriting minds that be behind Babymetal, you know, decide on kind of one consistent direction and one consistent sort of emotion. And they've gone, you know, this record is going to be kind of serious, and it's going to be geared towards one particular type of emotion. I do think that, in a way, you've kind of swung me, Ellie. I think it is cool to have this a more tasteful Babymetal record at this point in time, to sort of just let that speak for itself, rather than there always being this kind of asterisk of like, wow, they're so crazy around them. I do think it's just not as explosive as their previous couple of records have been. Again, though, the absolute fucking euphoria of a Karate, an Elevator Girl, a Megitsune, whatever. This doesn't quite have it, because it does feel so committed to a certain bit, and I guess it stays in one lane the most of any Babymetal record, which, if you're saying, you know, a record is a bit much, I understand if they rein in the excess, that might make it more palatable, but it also makes it more one-dimensional. But it is good at that, and it's a good record that I recommend you hear.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the Coke and Pepsi thing, in a way, where Pepsi's sweeter, so people prefer it when it's a small serving. Coke's less sweet, so people want a proper serving. So it's like, if you're just dipping in for songs, then yeah, Metal Resistance, Metal Galaxy, the debut and all that, because they're more mental, you just go, yeah, give me chocolate, Megitsune, Karate, let's just go all out. Listening to this is, for me, the most I've enjoyed listening to a Babymetal album front to back, maybe, just because it's not quite as, you know, mental.
Yeah, I think this one's going to probably grow me as well, because it is kind of less immediately garish, and so I can kind of like let it kind of sink in me, rather than kind of being like, oh god, what's being whipped all over the place, and just kind of like going along for Babymetal's wild ride in the past. Where here I'm like, I can actually, you know, just kind of take in what they're going for in this, and I think it's just an interesting, different direction for them to pull in.
Yeah, I think, and the highlights will go great in the set as well. Like Monochrome is gorgeous, so that is going to work very well. That is Babymetal, and the other one